Mickey Spillane was a notorious figure in the Irish-American underworld, becoming the undisputed leader of the Westies, a gang that ruled the Hell's Kitchen neighborhood of Manhattan during the mid-20th century. Born in 1934, Spillane grew up in a tough environment where crime was a way of life, especially for immigrants and their descendants trying to survive in poverty-stricken areas. Rise to power in the 1960s, Mickey Spillane seized control of the Westies, an Irish gang known for its brutality. Unlike other gangs that dealt primarily in narcotics, the Westies were involved in loan sharking, extortion, and running protection rackets in Hell's Kitchen. Spillane was different from many other gang leaders in New York because he kept a low profile. He wasn't flashy or overtly violent unless absolutely necessary, preferring diplomacy and alliances with the Italian mafia, particularly the Genovese crime family. Spillane maintained control by keeping other mobsters, such as the Italian mafia and other criminal gangs, from infiltrating Hell's Kitchen. His keen ability to navigate dangerous waters and manage various criminal enterprises made him one of the most respected and feared gangsters in New York during the 1960s and 1970s. Despite his role as a gang leader, Spillane presented himself as a local hero to many in his community, using some of his wealth to help those in need. Discoveries. One of Spillane's key realizations was the changing landscape of organized crime. As the Italian mafia began to grow in power and influence throughout New York, Spillane understood that remaining solely in the Irish-American enclave would limit his ability to maintain dominance. He worked closely with powerful mob families, like the Genovese, while fiercely guarding his territory from the rise of other gangs. However, one of the biggest threats came from within the Irish-American community itself, in the form of a rival named Jimmy Coonan. Coonan, younger and far more violent than Spillane, had a ruthless vision for the Westies. He saw opportunities in narcotics and more brutal forms of extortion, elements Spillane had traditionally avoided. The rivalry with Jimmy Coonan. By the mid-1970s, tensions between Spillane and Coonan escalated into a full-blown gang war. Coonan's younger faction, hungry for power and profits, wanted to modernize the Westies' operations by getting into drug trafficking and aligning more closely with the Gambino crime family. Spillane, on the other hand, was more old-school and believed in keeping the Irish-American criminal network relatively self-contained and away from the drug trade. Coonan's crew was much more violent and willing to go to any lengths to take control of Hell's Kitchen. This power struggle resulted in a series of killings, with Coonan's faction assassinating many of Spillane's closest allies. Coonan eventually enlisted the help of Roy DeMeo, a Gambino crime family hitman, to carry out a deadly strike against Spillane's leadership. Spillane's assassination in 1977, Mickey Spillane's reign as the head of the Westies came to a brutal end. On May 13th, Spillane was shot to death outside his Queens apartment. His murder was a pivotal moment in the history of the Westies, as it paved the way for Jimmy Coonan to take over the gang. Spillane's assassination marked the end of an era for the Irish-American mafia in Hell's Kitchen, as Coonan's leadership would bring the Westies into closer ties with the Gambino family and deeper into violent, large-scale criminal activities. Convictions and aftermath. Spillane himself was never convicted of serious crimes, in part due to his strategic avoidance of high-risk illegal activities like drug trafficking. His ability to navigate the criminal underworld with a combination of intelligence and calculated violence kept him out of the legal system for the most part. However, after his death, many of his associates were either killed in gang wars or arrested as the Westies became more entangled with the Italian mafia. Jimmy Coonan and his associates would eventually face justice. In 1988, Coonan and several key members of the Westies were convicted of various charges, including murder, racketeering, and extortion. Coonan received a life sentence without parole, marking the collapse of the once powerful Westies gang. Mickey Spillane's legacy as the leader of the Westies is one of a man who tried to preserve his version of organized crime in the face of a rapidly changing underworld. While his vision ultimately couldn't withstand the violence and ambitions of men like Jimmy Coonan, Spillane remains a legendary figure in the annals of New York's criminal history. Thanks for tuning into Sika True Crime Docs. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more captivating tales. Your support helps us keep bringing these stories to life. See you in the next episode.